moment. I'm glad we had the little, you know, little setups of everything like that.
You know what?
But yes,
I'm
we're
so
back
glad.
into picks.
Renekton's bad to start off. Good. Get him out of here. I don't want to talk about it after that. I'm just proud that I was close.
Increasing his presence.
Yeah, he is. He'll push himself up. You know, I know we didn't get a chance to talk about LGD and Rogue Warriors. For the fans out there, you know, these are teams at the bottom that Penguin already reiterated that they are, you know, fighting for that wooden spoon. Rogue Warriors sitting 1-8. They've played so many series and, you know, going up here again today, just trying to upset LGD, who have played the least series in the league, right? So, ready to pick ban. Olaf, we talked about being a priority. These are pretty standard picks in the LPL right now.
Yeah, these are pretty bog standard as well. You've got the flex with the Gragas that can go to the top side or the support, so nice little movement there for LGD. Rogue Warriors, they've locked in the Samira and Alistar, very potent bot side, and Haro with the Udyr. So like you said, and we were talking in our fun little game of who's that champion, Udyr has risen to prominence in the last few patches, has definitely become a much more priority pick for these teams because he's just so quick at clearing his own jungle. Now, going into the next round of bans, what would you like to see Rogue Warriors prioritize, and where do you want to see them take their comp?
I think getting rid of more Uniboy's champions, right? We already see the Orianna gone, and when you have a composition that has the flex of the Gragas that can play with the initiation role, with Olaf being able to play with that elongated bottom lane, because LGD here put the prio onto Kramer, you know, picking up the Kaisa instead of something like the Udyr first pick, which a lot of other teams would go for, just shows where LGD's core carry is. And I think aiming for the mid lane champion pool here is not only facilitation, but the safe mid lane that the potential of Forge can kind of punish running into the second pick.
Well, we'll see what they want to go for. They are focusing those mid lane bans as of right now. Like you said, trying to get Forge something preferable into that mid lane. TF going to be taken away from him, and you can kind of see why you would ban that from LGD's side. They have banned the Orianna and the Syndra, two things that generally do quite well into the Twisted Fate. So now your options are pretty much limited to Corki and Azir, and they're going to opt for the Azir this time.
Yeah, it makes sense for Forward. You know, pretty stable mid lane, and we're looking at Rogue Warriors before we're coming in and like the strengths of this team. Now, note that Betty is on the roster finally. He played his first series last time around, so you know, this puts Betty in a pretty decent position. Forge with the scaling element as well, but for LGD doing the same. Now, this is a team composition that, you know, has good disengage, but, you know, Uniboy could get the team to play into him, so a good scaling element's already built up for LGD, and I'd say that, yep, the front line's a perfect addition to give LGD a pretty ground out comp.
Yeah, right now, this feels like LGD just kind of want to keep Rogue Warriors at arm's distance. The Samira has got obviously range, but definitely wants to be more in the thick of it. Udyr wants to be running into you. Of course, so does the Alistar. This feels like, to me, LGD are saying, look, we have our front line, we have our engage, but we're trying to just keep our AD carries safe. A much more standard front-to-back team fight as the Aatrox is locked in for Rogue Warriors. So both teams having pretty decent kind of skirmishing power, I would say, while also having an explosive team fight presence here on Rogue Warriors.
But I'd say in the early game, we're really going to be focusing on that bottom lane. What we know is that Samira needs, you know, she needs that snowball advantage. She needs presence in the bottom lane to get her accelerated. You've got the Alistar, you've got the Samira, and you've got an Udyr who is going to be paying attention down there when the rest of the lanes are going to be pretty stable. We know that Viktor can poke the Azir out. We know that Azir also, you know, has good range advantage. I mean, at this point, screw the side lanes. I don't care. Aatrox will be fine into Sion. We're looking at bot here, Penguin, and I feel like bot with Kramer versus Betty might actually give us a bit more excitement than we're expecting.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And again, this is a big, big win. We didn't get any time at all because we were having too much fun with our little Pokemon segment. But this is a big, big, big match for either of these teams. These are both sitting on one win and various different losses. You look at LGD, they're sitting on, I think, 1-8 or 1-, yeah, I think it is 1-8 actually. Yeah, and Rogue Warriors are 1-5, so this is actually even more important for someone like LGD because they're running out of games to pick up wins in.
Dude, the thing about Rogue Warriors is just the squad that keeps Haro and is 1-8 is just so disappointing, and I want to see Rogue Warriors show us something because in this game, when you've already got 1-8, you've pretty much relegated yourself to the bottom of the standings for the rest of the split. RW need to be that impressive that they can take some of these surprising wins, keep LGD from climbing in the standings as well. LGD, a team that are 1-5, Penguin, they want to get some wins on the board. They've played the least series in the LPL so far.
Yeah, they've played the League Series, which means they have a pretty big run of it coming into the last few weeks of the split. But we are on to the Rift. Guys, gals, and I'm Bonnery Pals. Welcome to Summoner's Rift for this Game 1 of LGD versus Rogue Warriors. Let's talk about that scheduling right now. For LGD, they play Rogue Warriors today. Then they play WE, LNG, FBX. Then there's E-Star, Rare Atom, OMG, JDG, IG,
Jeez.
RNG. Like, this is a massive schedule to be coming into it. You could argue strength of schedule, but this is just a gauntlet for them to have to try and run through to get to the end of the split.
It's huge. You and I were talking in the rehearsal about what LGD have to do each week. They've got 2 series every week, and then in week 9... they've got 3 series during the 1 week, so the schedule's really slammed together for LGD. It's kind of a shame because I think for LGD, the pacing hasn't been in their favor. They're a team that have been waiting for Kramer to come back in. They're a team that have been, relying on this AD carry in the past, and now that he's back here, it feels like LGD still have more time to develop. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it would have been nice to see, a lot more games played without Kramer and to see what the difference would be coming into this. But, sir, we're under the rift, and it's my first time being apathetics in a while. I've on the recovery yesterday.
I'll forgive you if you want to take a couple of fights, man. That's totally fine. Like, I think we're both. Let's be real. Neither of us are exactly, Lyric or Clement or Dagda in the knowledge department. Hell, I wouldn't even say we're as high as Munchables. But we have fun here.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make that insulting.
I calls them like I just calls them like I see them. I think Munchables has a lot more knowledge than me anyway, at the bare minimum. But looking at this, I think it's going to be fun. I think this could be, like you said, an explosive game. Rogue Warriors, we've mentioned them many times that this is the kind of team that they just commit to a call. It doesn't matter what that call is. It doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad call. They will commit to the call, and you got to give a little bit of respect for a team that's so adamant in their shot calling that it's like, just go with it.
And the shot calling comes from someone like Haro. He's the leader of this team. It was Lyric and I talked about this quite heavily in the past, that if Haro's ahead in this team, it feels like Rogue Warriors can do no wrong. A lot of the wins in 2020 were coming off the back of Haro being that leader, being that initiator. Things like the Graves are one of his specialities, and I actually think he's one of the best Graves in the league because the team will funnel resources into him. So it's kind of different to see him on a game where, well, he's going to have to initiate into that bottom lane. Rogue Warriors are definitely going to be relying on other elements other than Haro. So it feels like going into this game 1, it is a nice start to see RW change up the pace a little bit. Of course, throughout the lanes, nothing much has happened apart from Forge and Uniboy just getting trades back and forth. Top side, we already mentioned that Aatrox going into Sion, of course, is going to have to push out in this early lane. And for Kramer and Peace, it is a Kaisa and Gragas, so you expect them to have the shove as they're doing to give priority for Quay to trade off the Scuttle Crab.
Well, we've got both junglers hovering towards this mid lane. Haro has a little bit of room, though, to kind of have to push himself underneath the turret, and Forge is pushing that one in. No real... Oh, the recall just came in as well. Uniboy might be forced to flash here. Nope, just backs himself away. Will lose about 1 or 2 minions, and that's all he will lose. Good respect given to Rogue Warriors by Uniboy.
I guess Haro wanted to burn the flash of Uniboy before he burnt his own, but that's very fair indeed. The damage still comes out from the poke of Forge, and Uniboy in an interesting position. Both mid laners have teleport here, but Uniboy has to pay the respect as if Haro is still nearby. He doesn't know that he backed away, and so Forge can keep pushing up in this lane pretty comfortably, and he'll have a nice back timing too with a bit of CS lead that's already accrued.
Yeah, it's all about getting priority into this lane right now. Uniboy just doing his best on the Viktor to try and just equalize that. It'll pretty much be the exact same for both sides. Yes, you get a little bit of an advantage here for Forge. You got about 10 CS. Is to be expected. You have a pretty decent range advantage with the Azir early on with those soldiers. Yep. So curious to see, will that equal into anything else later on into the game? Both TPs used into the mid lane, and now you can see Quay moving in to try and take away some chickens.
Yeah, getting the Raptor camp, the favorite camp of most of the junglers here in the LPL. Quay up a bit of CS as well, so he'll be able to move there and then potentially head out towards the Krugs in the top side. We'll see what Haro does as a response of vertical jungle, but it could just lead Quay to come in onto Big Boy Forge.
Well, Forge is here. These junglers, this mid-jungle duo right now is kind of taking a bit of a weird turn. Haro gets pushed back, the gravity field dropped, and everyone backs away. They're literally just making sure the both mid laners don't die. That's what this is right now.
True. Both mid laners scale exceptionally well, as we've talked about, as Kaisa setting up the engage, just a bit of damage onto Peace, and LGD's bottom lane taking a small trade. Won't matter too much, but jungler's still hovering mid. Look at the pings going down, Penguin.
Yeah, they just want to try and see if they can be annoying as possible. You see a camp lead or just under a camp lead here for Quay as he did get those Raptor steals, but Peace is the first one to roam up. Haro does get the steal, but now the fight can really start. Haro forced the flash away, but the belly bop goes in. They trying to get in on top of him, but first blood goes over to Peace. Now the rest of the fight can happen here as the Alistar falls as well. LGD picking up 2. They are going to try and maybe run down Betty. If he does land an undertow or 2, he should be able to keep it going or at least burn a summoner. Very difficult for Betty to get this guy off of his back right now. He's almost just about to use the Bass Cone. Great discipline from Betty there, not using his flash, just using his heal. Gets himself out relatively unscathed.
Yeah, he's happy that he got out, but LGD making the roam first. It was Peace who makes the movement, corners off, and then Uniboy putting the gravity field down. I'm sure we'll have a look in a second. But for LGD, a great early game start for a composition that we already talked about with bottom lane getting ahead, being able to push out this wave. With Uniboy getting a kill, he'll be more comfortable in this lane and the Viktor will get that scaling advantage, or at least being able to keep up. Leads to a dragon as well as Forge forces the flash out.
Oh, I like that from Forge right there. Waits for the flash, just pop it down. The Chaos Storm is still popping though, and Forge is going to get ticked down. He had no flash to get away. He had no shifting sands. Great turnaround by Uniboy, and this is someone that we talked about, you know, a couple of days ago or even a couple of evenings ago in story meetings, that Uniboy has been consistently decent for this team for LGD. He has been good for them and has shown that he's able to go toe-to-toe with some of the, you know, some of the better talent in the league.
He's a focus coming in over from the PCS. We saw him at Worlds. Quay just takes away the blue buff with an undertow. Yeah, thumbs up. It's exactly right. And LGD, I'd still say beneficial of the trade. The wave doesn't push into the turret. Actually just resets in mid-wave, and Uniboy comes out ahead. We'll have a look again because it was flash for flash, but you mentioned it before. Uniboy actually burned his flash in the trade, so he couldn't walk away from the Chaos Storm. And again, beneficial considering the wave can't get shoved out. Haro just comes in, but it's a leftover wave at that. 2 kills now for the mid lane Viktor, and he'll catch up in the CS, and he'll be closer towards picking up this first item. I think Uniboy in a great position in the early game.
Yeah. I was just about to say there, like, Forge didn't get that kill. It went over to Haro, whereas 2 kills have now gone over to Uniboy. So the little 10 CS gold lead doesn't really make any difference. If anything, I'd say Uniboy is in a much more favorable position, like you mentioned. So we'll see what way they can make it work. This Viktor is just wave clear city throughout that mid to late game. So once you get those Hex Core upgrades, you're able to just do so much to just quell a lot of the pressure that from the side of Rogue Warriors will be able to put out in the side lanes. But we'll wait and see how that one goes. Dragon did go over, of course, to the side of LGD, and now Haro is here with the Alistar, and they're going to try and back themselves away. They are trying to see if they can go for anything. This is, as you said, it's explosive. Both teams want to try and just put the other team on edge, get that advantage, be it mental or otherwise.
Especially for Rogue Warriors right now, we already talked about Samira in the bottom lane and what it requires to get this pick going, and a lot of LPL teams have strayed away from this in recent history because of how volatile she can be, for better or for worse. Betty down behind CS. Kaisa keeps looking for the pick with Haro. And now support and jungle are roaming together. I like this from RW, considering that Haro is falling behind in the jungle. He wants to get more prio. And even in front of these neutral objectives, Kaisa actually down a level here, Penguin. LGD have a numbers advantage.
You say neutral objectives. I think the objective right there was the scuttle, but LGD not giving an inch right there, just saying, no, this is our objective, and that's all we're gonna have to say to you right now is we're gonna give up priority in the, in the bot side and try and go for that one. But no level 6 yet for this Alistar. Makes it very difficult to go for a big dive. Peace has not got his flash just yet, but he has got the explosive cast, which forces Betty's flash. Very nicely done here by the LGD bot lane.
Peace was trying to wait out for the blade while waiting for the explosive cast, and the fact that it burns the flash just gives so much more to LGD's. Quay!
Oh, I think this Alistar is sent to the slaughterhouse. That is a butcher of an Olaf right there. Now he's 1-0-2. He's got himself the makings of a gore drinker. And they have found Betty now, who does not have his flash. He does have his dash, though, so he's able to get himself out. And LGD, they're dictating the pace right now, Hysterics. They're the ones that are pushing, you know, Rogue Warriors back into their own base.
Bot screwed, brother. Let's be quite honest with ourselves. Quay is paying so much attention to the mid bot, and when you have a top lane that can just sit there and absorb the pressure like Colt, I think for LGD, this game plan is so solid. Quay's still up in CS. He's taking camps away from Haro. As long as, well, getting that solo kill onto the support opens up for Kramer to push these turret plates in. And this Kaisa now 30 CS ahead at 10 minutes into the game. This is LGD's win condition. Relies on such a great player like Kramer to carry them forward. And he's got half of the gold lead sitting in his pocket right now.
And for someone like Betty as well, looking at the other side of the coin, like this Samira needs gold. This Samira needs to be able to survive in team fights with the Immortal Shield Bow, with just extra little bit of resistance or extra bit of damages so you can get the resets off. You don't get that right now, and you're just so just miserable in this lane because there's nowhere for you to go. You can't really jump in onto an Olaf or a Sion right now because they're just going to melt you down. Even if you do have a full item, it's just becoming so difficult for them to really kind of go for something. And I'm liking the fact that LGD are pushing out and kind of looking to see if they can get more and more of an advantage. That's a 20 CS lead down on that bot side, which is just huge.
Even mid, right? The lane that we saw before was leading in CS for Forge. That's equalized a little bit more. Uniboy got those earlier kills, and it just feels like right now, Rogue Warriors, even in this early game, options being limited. And the one lane where we thought, all right, you know, this is where Haro's going to play towards, he hasn't found an avenue in the bottom lane. He keeps roaming with QiuQiu, but every single time, it's Peace who negates it. It's Quay who matches the enemy jungle. Yet again, look at this. Betty and QiuQiu move into the river, but Quay always in the right place at the right time. Right timing being the second dragon spawning, so he gets priority down here once again.
All right, Dragon has spawned. It is a Mountain Drake, and you can see the vision trying to be cleared here by Rogue Warriors. It has been started up by LGD. Now, Haro is here, and QiuQiu is as well. Level 6 here for the Alistar. They might look to try and just engage this one here. They don't really have great position, but they aren't committing the TP. Both top laners will be here. This will be a full 5v5. The commitment has been made. The call has been put down. It's very split up for Rogue Warriors right now. They're not really a full unit. Flash in, explosive cast, belly bop down on top of Ziv, who's just trying to sustain him up. He soaks up 2 ultimates and gets out. Those are 2 big cooldowns. No longer available. 4-man knock up here with this. No one's ready to kind of go back in on top of it, though. QiuQiu does get the 4-man, but nobody was prepared.
It was a nice engage, Penguin. It really was. But you're right, there was no damage follow-up coming through. And LGD are going to get away with this dragon. The fact is, for Rogue Warriors, that felt like a really good opportunity, but scattered to the wind. And now, all they're going to get for their retribution is the Rift Herald down mid. Dragon given over. At least you get some plates on the back end, but QiuQiu going down gives more gold into the pocket of LGD.
Oh, that feels so bad for QiuQiu as well, because that's the perfect engage. Like, that is absolutely exactly what you want to be doing, but the rest of his team just wasn't on the same page, wasn't in the right mindset. Let's have a look at how that fight kind of goes back, because like we said, it was just separated on 2 fronts.
Penguin, before this fight, Uniboy was zoning out Forge. That's why he's all the way around the blue buff. So Uniboy's the starting MVP of this. We're about to watch that 4-man pulverize, but Betty too far back in river. Can't get in, doesn't have the stacks on the S rank, so for LGD, yeah, they get away with murder quite literally onto the beef product. I'm sorry, the vegan's probably really upset with that one. I think at this point for Rogue Warriors, you're going, well, we know what our potential is, but just not in the position to make it happen. The 1-8 team strikes again, and LGD picking up the dragon. We saw gold lead still at 2,000 at 14 minutes in the game as plating goes down. Again, a really good position for LGD to move out of these lanes and, you know, get towards those first mythics as we're seeing across the board.
Yeah, first mythics being popped up there for LGD. I actually like this from Colt. He's picking up the Thornmail because he recognizes that the Aatrox and the Samira are so heavily reliant on being able to regen and lifesteal in these team fights that if you're able to cut that down even a little bit, it can be the difference in your team. And he knows, as a weak side top laner on the Sion, he is not the carry. He is not the person who is going to be winning this team, you know, the game. He will be setting them up for success, but this is all about Uniboy and Kramer, and even Quay as well to an extent, that coming into these late game or mid game to late game team fights. Whereas on the other side, Rogue Warriors, they need Ziv and Betty to be just popping off in fights. I feel like if QiuQiu gets that 4-man knockup again, the rest of his team should be in position to be able to capitalize and make something work.
Another reason I like LGD's comp, right, where you see, you know, the front to back, you have Sion, you have Olaf, you have Gragas, and then Kaisa's ability to reposition here makes it so that Ziv's role becomes really hard. And I think Ziv, when we look at Aatroxes in the LPL, a lot of it is about those flanking angles and how they can play disruption in the backline when you have people like Forge and Betty on these high late game, you know, 80 carry / mid lane champs. So I think at this point you're looking at Rogue Warriors to play these fights really well. Of course, I'm not a color caster. I'm not going to tell you the in-depth play, but I'm going to tell you that there is good you know, there's good scaling of Rogue Warriors.
I like the way it's just like, how dare you assume I would tell you how this goes? That just isn't my job. I'll give you a taste of it, and I'll let someone on Twitter explain it.
Back away. Don't hurt
the
me.
life of a play-by-play.
Oh, hell yeah, true. We rely so much on our geniuses, especially the LPL. LGD gripping up though, Penguin. I don't know. I'm going to move forward so I don't hurt you.
I was just going to say, it's interesting how we rely so heavily on them and they rely so heavily on it. It's a
two-way street.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's a something relationship. I can't remember. Maybe, sure.
I've given you two really good words handshake.
For it. You've given me some words. That's what you have given me now. I can't even think of the word of it, damn. It's like something to do with like relationship. It's like co-beneficial. No, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm going to come back to that if I ever think of the word. Rift Herald has spawns and Rogue Warriors are here to try and stop LGD, but they are not here in time to get any vision, which means they don't feel safe. They don't feel like they can go for anything else. Symbiotic, someone said it in chat. Thank you. Sorry, symbiotic relationship. But now that the mid lane turret has been under siege, you can see the power of the Viktor now with his upgraded Hex Core. He's able to get that extra laser damage that just puts down and just annihilates waves. And now Rift Herald taken. You can push in the top side. You can look to try and start getting these side waves going. It is much, much better for LGD than it is for Rogue Warriors right now. Rogue Warriors, they need to be the ones proactive. They need to be finding the picks if they want to try and get back into this.
Yeah, they really need to utilize Haro here on the Udyr. It's something we've already talked about many times. The mobility of this champion and how he can impact these elongated lanes. You just chase down your enemy, but Kramer pushes out the wave. He backs away afterwards, and I kind of like it that, you know, we're seeing Kramer sit in these side waves. He already has such a big CS lead. He's got an EXP lead as well over Betty, so Kramer's going to be absolutely massive in these upcoming fights, and there will be upcoming fights because in 30 seconds, the Dragon comes up. That'll be Soul Point if LGD are able to pick it up, and this team with an Infernal Soul just feels unbeatable. I don't think you even talk about the scaling comparison here when LGD have really good scaling themselves. They had that front to back we talked about, and the damage threats from the Infernal Soul will be propped up so much.
Yeah, you need to get this one if you're Rogue Warriors. You need to stop the count. You need to stop the dragon stacking. You need to get yourself into position. There will be pretty much all summoners available across the board. All flashes, all heals. The only thing missing are the TPs from the mid laners. All ultimates available. Smite is there. There is a level lead for Quay over Haro. But Rogue Warriors are the first one on the objective. They also have a couple of pink wards just littered around. They drop the Rift Herald, though, into the mid lane, so LGD will have that pressure coming in. Quay goes in, but is not taken away, so Rogue Warriors get the Dragon. Now the fight can really happen. Explosive cast to try and disengage as Colt is taking a huge chunk off of his own health bar. Quay may be forced to use the Ragnarok, still holding on to that cooldown, but Rift Herald still being pushed in the mid lane means they will be able to take this tier 1, and that is a still objective trade. I would honestly say a little bit in favor of LGD because they have the inside path now.
Yeah, they do. Next wave coming in. Herald did go down, but at least taking the Dragon away from LGD to force the Infernal Soul, that's one good thing. However, Ziv might be caught on out. I'm not sure if he can get over the wall. We're just brawling.
No, he's fine to take this one because no one else from LGD arrived. Everyone else just walked away. He was like, I can 1v1 you, dude. Like, I am an Aatrox with a gore drinker. I am totally fine with this one. LGD, they get the mid lane turret. They lose the Dragon. And now Rogue Warriors, they've given themselves some more time. They've given themselves a little bit of breathing room. They're not just, 5 minutes from now thinking, oh, God, we have to fight regardless of situation. Even if they're at a bad, kind of item point or even a bad advantage if they lose a pick or anything like that, they do not have to fight at the next Drake. They've given themselves that extra bit of breathing room.
Extra time, you said, for items. We're getting towards Azir's second item as well, which could be that Morellonomicon. Note the Oblivion Orb in the inventory. Actually one there for Uniboy as well. Grievous Wounds become very popular as we're seeing more and more tanks in the meta, as we're also seeing a lot of healing in the meta as well. We have for quite a while. I also note that we've got the Serrated Dirk still sitting in the inventory for Kramer. He has opted in for the 800 gold instead of getting the collector second item. So with his CS lead, he should be able to pick that up soon. But is Uniboy in doo-doo, Penguin?
I don't think so, unless they really want to try and hard force this one. They flash in, he flashes out, TP comes in, and he is totally fine. Chaos Storm was dropped as well, and now Rogue Warriors are running home to their mamas because they need to get the hell out of Dodge. Haro has to take a full face of Cult to him as he jumps back and tries to get himself away. Explosive cast to knock him back into the loving arms of Uniboy, who gladly takes his wallet and 300 gold into his back pocket. And this is where Rogue Warriors, I feel like they're looking to try and be proactive. I like the idea idea behind it, but at the same time, the execution is just not quite there. There is a ward on this for Rogue Warriors. They need to try and get back into those. Ziv has TP, and you can see it here. No vision on him whatsoever, so he's going to have to try and get in this one very, very fast. 3,000 HP onto the Baron. They're trying to turn onto Kaisa, who has got no HP whatsoever. They're trying to steal it. They will not be able to, and Ziv is now caught in no man's land. He's going to have to try and run away as fast as he can, but you can't catch me. Or rather, you can catch me and eat me up as the gingerbread man, and it goes and tries to find everything he can. Ziv is just being cut down. All the healing reduction there from Kramer. And they get themselves the Baron, they get themselves 2 kills, and this feels like LGD should be able to run away with this game.
Don't die, Viktor. Man, there's a couple of champions in League of Legends you shouldn't die, Penguin. Can you name them? One of them's Viktor, right? Every single time. Gravity field from one of them. I couldn't actually name the others just from the Pokemon segment.
I was going to say, I was like, you clearly in your head just turned around and was like, name them, shut up.
Another one was Ord, but this flash from Uniboy was sick. The gravity field placement as well was perfect. This all leads into the Baron play. And of course, you're going to see Peace roam up here after the ultimate comes in pretty nicely from Colt to lock down Haro. The explosive cast had the potential for more, but just secures the Udyr from running away. We saw the Baron after the play as well. That was easily secured with a jungler down on the side of RW. And now all of a sudden we come back to live 21 minutes in. It's a 7,000 gold lead. Baron available on LGD. And Kramer is just so huge right now as well. So I don't think you can put a foot wrong for LGD in game 1. This feels like an easy close, and it feels like this has been a huge jungle mid-diff kind of game. Even support diff, I think Peace deserves a lot of respect from what we've seen.
I was just about to mention Peace, honestly, on this Gragas has looked fantastic and really setting his team up for success, making sure Kramer was there to pick up the kills, making sure that his jungler has the roam buddy that he needs. And something like an Alistar or Udyr combo feels like in the early game, that's something that's just constant CC and you can't do anything about it unless you flash away. LGD have fully negated that, being able to roam around with the Gragas, being able to just cancel out a lot of the headbutt pulverized combos that you used to be able to get. And now it's Ziv in this bot lane trying to defend this tier 2. Becomes very, very difficult with this Baron now pushing down. They do get the explosive cast out of Peace, which sadly, cast a curse. We were just praising him, and then he gets, unfortunate little ultimate there. And Betty now pushing into this mid lane. Not really much he could do. He's actually run away right now, but they're still pushing in this bot side, Jake.
Penguin, there's a flank coming. At LGD, they're either going to go forward or back as TP flies through.
Oh, here we go. It's 4v5 right now. They're going to try and see if they can get Colt off this. He has no TP. Uniboy gets jumped on straight away, and this is the combination we just talked about, the CC lockdown. Flash belly bop is massive onto Betty and Forge. The Shurima shuffle isn't really there. Betty is dead. They will be able to pick up Uniboy, so it's a 1-for-1 trade as they try and take down Beishuan. He goes down all the way, and now it looks like LGD just have too much gold. They have too much items, and they have too much damage. There's nothing the side of Rogue Warriors can do, and they're gonna have to try and run away as fast as they can. 12-2, a 8,000 gold lead. LGD pretty much have the run of the map. It was a good idea for Rogue Warriors, but they're just too far behind.
Dude, I just love that the game will end like that, or at least get close to ending, right? Death time is maybe not too long, and it means that LGD are gonna back away. Inhibitor broken in the bottom lane, but that was a true mosh pit. That was like going to a festival and you go, man, actually, this is not my kind of jam. So LGD winning out in the end somehow with the gold lead you mentioned, and they'll move to Infernal Soul Point. Do we even see the soul itself? LGD just so far ahead, and it's just so hilarious to watch Rogue Warriors try and go out like this. I mean, in the end, you're like, okay, good flank here from Kaisa. Rogue Warriors in a great position. But again, Uniboy is in just such a great place where he delays so much time. He draws attention from Betty, who's been having a horrible game on this Samira. Rogue Warriors missed that wombo combo opportunity with their AD carry dead, and then the gold differential from the jungle, from even this top lane absorbing the damage, is too much for RW to deal with.
And for Rogue Warriors, they had the idea there. You can see the CC combination that came down once they were able to get Kaisa. I think I said Beishuan on that in the fight, but okay, he's on my mind for the game later. But Kaisa and Haro able to get in the headbutt, pulverize into the bear stance, and Uniboy was locked up forever. But then they just ignored the tanks. They just went, okay, well, Forge and Betty are over here, so we're just going to run straight onto them. And I got to call out Forge when, you know, a little bit of a misplay. That ultimate was kind of a bit panicky. It was into the wall rather than away from him and his AD carry. It kind of really didn't work for him. And this is a tough time right now for Rogue Warriors. They luckily took that one Drake, so the Dragon Soul not quite up just yet, but they are 3 items now onto your mid laner and onto your AD carry for LGD. There is 2 items finally for your top laner, so Sion is doing very, very well and just sort of soaking up that pressure. Just soaking up so much damage. And look at the pure amount of just light or healing cut that they have. The grievous wounds. You've got the Thornmail, you've got the Morellonomicon, and of course you've got the Executioner's Calling on the, I can't remember the name of the item, but it's just a lot basically right now for both, or for everyone pretty much. There's no one who's really going to be able to keep themselves alive as Forge. He keeps himself alive, but just barely. He is not quite dead just yet. And now with a lot of ultimates used, could they look to try and turn this one around? They do have the TP from Ziv. Ziv is here, but there's a minion wave to try and tank this one up. They are flashing away. Ziv just almost has the kill down on the Kaisa, and that is the first one of this fight. They do get out with blinking health bars, but in the end, Rogue Warriors, they get the kills. They get the kill, and they get themselves out alive. That's important.
Betty finally did something. I'm so proud of him. He finally got into the fight, and he picked up a kill, even though I don't think he altered. Betty was able to actually make impact and follow through. Ziv's TP was super sketchy, though. Let's put that in there, because that was almost going downhill. But you're surprised that Rogue Warriors can pull out something when they're so far behind. At the very least, they pull off the pressure. They still lose the turret, but they were going to lose that anyway. So for LGD, they pull back. They'll wait for Kramer, one of their strongest members, to come back alive. And now with Baron there, with Infernal coming in 2 minutes, it's still the same situation for RW. Their base getting pressured by the bottom lane, super minions. Baron still under control with Vision. And LGD, it's going to require a massive throw at this point, a mis-executed team fight for them to lose this one. So we'll see if RW can pressure them and towards a big purple worm, if they can force the play.
Mortal reminder was the word I was looking for Kramer. I do apologize. So many items, so many things that look the same. But we'll get back to that. There's a nice little ward here on the back of the pits. They do know that this Baron has been started. And again, another TP being committed here by Rogue Warriors. But LGD are not just going to play into the hands of Rogue Warriors. They're going to say, right, we got your TP. That's fine by us. You're no longer defending that bot side. And that is a lot of minions. That's a huge wave just crashing in now onto that bot side. I believe it's double super minions going in. So this is a ticking clock right now for Rogue Warriors. They need to either find a fight or they need to go back and give up the Baron. They can't have both.
From everywhere, right? You know, mid wave's going to get cleared out, but top wave is stacking as well. There's going to be pressure up towards that top side of the map. Mid will reset and come back in. And for RW, someone has to back away. You're right, LGD betting on it because they know the teleport was just exhausted. Ziv doesn't have his either. And Colt's trying to start the engage. He's got the knock-up.
They gotta go for the fight. There's Explosive Cast, which completely isolates the Alistar, and that was fantastic from Peace. Peace has looked amazing all game, and you can see now Rogue Warriors backing up to their own turrets right now, backing up into their own base. They're losing Nexus turrets right now to the super minions. They need to try and deal with that one right there. And now, with the mid lane turret being sieged under, this looks like LGD might look for the kill.
Going for the Nexus turret first, rather inhibitor turret, excuse me. Getting poked off nicely by RW, but again, just waiting for the next wave. And they're pinging towards the Infernal Soul. They want to dot the I's, cross the T's before they take down RW in game 1.
Get the Infernal Soul, get even more damage and wave clear, make it nigh impossible for anyone on the side of Rogue Warriors to catch you out, barring a massive mistake. And this is good from LGD. Like we said, they're 1-5. They are not exactly high up on the playoffs table, but because they have such a huge gauntlet of a run left for them to go, they technically can still make playoffs. They can technically take a couple of different games, get yourself up to that top 10. That's the beauty of LPL. 17 teams, 10 spots in playoffs. You just need to have to be slightly below average and you still get into playoffs.
You just need to get wins like this against RW, teams that you should beat, and if you want to be considered above the bottom of the pack, then, you know, RW is a must win, and a 2-0 in this series would be that definition, that statement from LGD. Again, we've said that LGD have played the least series out of anyone in the LPL. People thinking they're, you know, a horrible team because they're 1-5 may not be true in the perspective of teams like RW, OMG, even, you know, TT's back and forth a little bit, as we saw with JDG yesterday. for LGD, this is a good sign of life. In game 1, still up about 10,000 gold, and I think right now, you know, it's pointless to talk about the items, but we're 3 items across the board pretty much for this LGD roster as well, and Peace is so huge. He's 4-0-7, Penguin. Like, the Gragas has the best score out of the team, and I think, again, Peace has been carrying this early game.
Yeah, honestly, I think he's the richest support we've ever had in pro play. I would love to try and maybe figure that one out. If you do know, in LEC, they talk about how, or more so Medic talks about how the supports literally very rarely get a second item outside of their mythic. So Peace doing his job right now to get more. Yeah, he's on 3 nearly at this point. So he's if you count the warding item, he's almost on 4.
Well, right game does because it counts as a legendary. So. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. So, yeah, there you go. We'll see how he's able to transition if this game even lasts long enough for it. But 31 minutes in, there are still items being picked up here by Rogue Warriors. So if they can find the fight, they can get into the back of this pit. They may be able to look for something. Haro, though, being coerced away. LGD, they do not get it, but the explosive cast is not good enough. Haro with a good flash gets him out of dodge. Now Haro just running straight back in on top of Peace, the most fed member, if you will, of LGD. But he's a very tanky boy, and now the Alistar might just be turned into mincemeat. He is down and out as LGD finally pull the trigger. The Inferno trigger isn't enough for Rogue Warriors, and they are running, heading for the hills. Rogue Warriors have to get themselves out. Forge, nowhere to go. Drops down the Streamer's Legacy to try and maybe stop the minions, but Ziv with no ultimate, no Gore Drinker passive, nothing to go there. He is going to be taken down without any problem whatsoever. They do not need minions right now. They can just go straight down the mid lane. They can take these Nexus turrets, and this will be game 1 going over to LGD in very convincing fashion.
It felt like it was over 10 minutes ago. Rogue Warriors got beaten out in pretty much every lane, every play. They never got off the ground, and Penguin, this is a good sign for LGD to enter the series and show up against RW with some, honestly, awesome Gragas play.
Yeah, I think for me, that the MVP was Peace. Peace had an unbelievably emphatic, presence with this Gragas. And for Rogue Warriors, we love them, and we love to hate them, and we hate to love them because they commit to the bit. They always go for that big, we're going for this call, and if it all works, it's awesome. But we've seen more often than not, it doesn't work. Yeah. And that's becoming a bit of an issue, Rogue Warriors, right now. It worked against Top Esports. Good job for you guys. You picked up an early win, but it's not working against anyone else. It seems very telegraphed, seems very laid out, and very obvious when it's going to happen, and this is something that Rogue Warriors need to try and fix.
Comms are just not synced up, man. I mean, this team, like, whether they were going in, whether they were making the play or not, we saw in the bottom lane where or at least towards mid, where it was a play onto Uniboy in the jungle where they overextended. Half the team in, half the team out, like Kaisa making the engage, but then, even his AD carry, like Betty's like, well, I'm not a part of this play. I'm going to peel off because Dragon's already gone. We found the objective. But I don't know what's going on. Again, they've got Betty in, who's only played... This is second series. So Betty finally back in the LPL. And, if you try and analyze Rogue Warriors, you may get maybe a brain tumor. I don't know. So at this point...
Jesus.
Well... Okay.
You could have said a headache. You could have said like Jesus Christ.
Let's say headache. All right. Thank you. Man, me being a color caster should never happen. I'll have to think. Rogue Warriors. This squad doesn't feel like they did in 2020. Haro was the leading force in this game. He got out jungled by Quay, and yeah, you're just looking at the damage numbers. You're looking at the trend, and it's pretty much nothing to speak about except a slow burn down, because that's what LGD did. They had control in all their lanes. Colt absorbed pressure from Ziv in the 1v1, and Quay was always focused around Uniboy or the bottom side river and took everything away from Haro.
Yeah, honestly, if it's a toss-up between Quay and Peace, I think my personal one is go Peace. Supports are underestimated, underrated, and underappreciated in my eyes. But I think Quay would be also just as deserving. Look at the just presence he had with the Olaf. And that's something that we've seen right now. If you want to take the Udyr, you have to take away the Olaf, because Olaf has so much more early game skirmishing power that your early game farming just doesn't really work out that well. And again, we're seeing Rogue Warriors, they commit to so many plays, they commit to trying to make things work out, but it didn't really go anywhere. It really didn't happen for them. And for me, that feels like right now, they are our worst team in the league. And that's not something I like saying, and that's something that I take pride in saying at all, because I like thinking that everyone in our league can do something. Like, they started off okay, and then it's just been going from worse to worse to worse. They've almost looked like they've deteriorated rather than gotten better in terms of how their playstyle goes, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, they have. And you're right saying that. You know, I'm the harsh one. I literally just said something that I should never say on broadcast, so I apologize for that. But
we won't talk
we won't talk about that. Apologies again. But for me, I think you're right in saying RW, you know, haven't gotten better throughout the split. They're working with a lot of moving parts, and Ziv joining the LPL is another thing, right? You know, like, they've got a top laner who feels like he's degraded since his appearance in 2015 Worlds. And, you know, it's not the Ziv that you remember from AHQ. It's a Ziv who didn't really add anything into that game either. So I guess to summarize what we just saw was an RW who feel deflated, who didn't play towards their condition of the bottom lane and just kind of died quietly in the night.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they're able to bounce back and get some life into them into game 2. We're going to